Everybody, welcome to tonight's webinar. We're going to be talking about TikTok and TikTok for business, and we're going to learn from experts that know what they're doing. So I am the host. I don't profess to know what I'm doing. I have personally managed to get over 400,000 followers in the last 12 months, but I'm going to put that down to luck. The real experts are on the panel today, and they're going to share what they know. A lot of you already sent us some questions, so we will be answering the questions that you've sent in. But equally, at the end of the overview and the insights from each of the experts, we will be taking your questions, which is a bit that I think is really important. If you guys don't have all the information you need at the end, you can come up on stage and ask questions. Now, we had nearly 400 people register for tonight's event, so I'm going to talk for a few minutes while we wait for everybody to arrive. And I'll just quickly say the reason that we're here, the Purposeful project is here, is to help 10 million people start and grow a business. And we will always help people for free. We're not in this to sell you a course or upsell you into a get-rich-quick scheme. We're here as a group of entrepreneurs, simply trying to help you understand all the things that we've learned as entrepreneurs, but equally make sure you don't feel alone doing it. So this is one of those webinars. We do webinars every single week. We have a Discord channel as well, which you can join. And our mission is simply to help you. So if you have any questions about business, you can go on our platform, purposefulproject.com, and hopefully get some answers from the material that's up there. But equally, you can join our live events, of course, webinars like this, and we'll always try to help you. So I want to also say a big thank you to the panelists. They give up their time to come and share their knowledge. And some of us are in the UK and some of us are in LA. So, from all over the world. And we all have different experience, which I also find to be incredibly valuable. I have a podcast show where I interview the world's most successful entrepreneurs, and often they have a very different opinion to me about every single subject that's in entrepreneurship. So it's always good to have many different views on the same subject, so you can decide what suits you better as an individual. So hopefully you'll find that tonight we might have a difference of opinion on different strategies that will eventually give you the strategy that works for you. I also want to thank Tide Bank. They have been supporting our webinars, and this webinar tonight is not only in partnership with them. They've helped us let people know about this webinar. They've also offered up £50 for anyone that wants to start a bank account with them. And I've got a bank account with them. I can tell you it's so easy. I'm not just saying that because they've supported us and our initiative. I say it because the product is good. And so they've also offered to give free banking support services and transfers for a year for anyone that signs up, and all you have to do is use our code, the P Project. We get nothing if you sign up. I just want to say the Purposeful Project is not an affiliate marketing partner. We're just trying to bring things that we think are useful to entrepreneurs to your doorstep. So that's it. So if you want to take advantage of what Tide kindly offered, then we'll put the links in the chat, and you can get access to their tools and their resources, which is also awesome. So, we are waiting for one more speaker who's on his way. And so I think we can get going with the wonderful panelists that we have here already. And we're going to start off by hearing from JT Barnett. He's actually based in LA, so let's not get jealous about his backdrop. But JT, could you start off by maybe telling the audience a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your thoughts on TikTok before I ask you some questions that were sent in from the audience?
Would love to, and very, very grateful for you even bringing me on this panel with some great panelists. So I'm super excited for this. I see people writing in the chats from all over the place. It's pretty cool to see because I don't do these very often. And so when I'm able to, I really enjoy them. I'm JT, I'm in Los Angeles. Quick little background on
Did we get a technical glitch suddenly with JT?
Yeah, she's frozen.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm gonna blame the American internet. But I'm sure JT will be back in a second. So while we're waiting for JT's internet to work again, maybe Katie, would you quickly introduce yourself kindly and then?
Yes, My name's Katie. I own a e-commerce business called Fiddly Bitz, which I set up via Instagram in lockdown 2020. Came over to TikTok, and TikTok has been instrumental in evolving my business, teaching me so much about social media and learning how to grow on it. So there's really nothing bad I can say about TikTok. And I'm more than happy to be here to help other people find their way as well, so that they can access this amazing platform that just puts you out in front of the people who you need to see and who you want to see you, and take your business to the next level.
Thanks, Katie. Max, would you kindly introduce yourself for a moment?
There we go, off mute. My name's Max, guys. I started TikTok probably, I lose track now, about 18 months ago. And in short, TikTok has pretty much changed my life in a massive way, and for the better. I lost my job in the first lockdown due to COVID, got made redundant, and I basically was in a bit of a position where I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I really knew that I didn't want to go back to work. And I was exploring loads of different platforms. And it was then that I discovered TikTok. I'd never created a face-to-camera video before, never really created much content. But I set myself the challenge that I'm going to start a business and go self-employed by the end of the month and not go back to full-time work. So I doubled down on my passion, which was food and cooking. And 18 months later, I've now started a couple of different businesses and grown to just over 2 million followers.
And you're an amazing cook whose food I absolutely love, Max. Thank you. I think we have JT back, and Matt Klymenko is in the room drinking Perrier water. Very nice. Well, welcome, Max.
Hi everyone. Sorry, I'm a little bit late.
Not at all, no problem. We're just doing introductions, and then we've got some questions that were already sent in, which we'll be going over in a moment, and then we'll take questions from the audience. But JT was just introducing himself, and then we lost the internet. So JT, welcome back.
Yeah, no idea what happened there. Apologize. So essentially, quick little gist, started the first adult TikTok house. That project, we went from 0 to 1 million followers in 60 days. And so when that happened, that kind of allowed me to start getting brands to reach out to me asking if I could teach them how to do TikTok. So I took on a couple of those clients. They really worked. And what really was kind of the aha moment for me was not just awareness, but actually having these brands be able to convert and sell product through TikTok. When I saw that, I was like, wow, TikTok is not just going to be an awareness platform. It's going to be something that's going to be a lot bigger. And so I doubled down on that and started an agency where we do strategy for brands organically. So I essentially try to teach brands how to film everything and do everything in-house themselves. That's another opinion of mine on just the content on TikTok. I think it's because the way it's prioritized. Anybody can do it if you have an iPhone, which is everybody. And so I try to teach companies how to do it in-house. And I also now, through that agency, will recruit TikTok creators to actually come and run brands accounts if nobody in office wants to film it themselves. And so I do that along with being a creator myself. It's kind of like all the stuff that I'm talking about. I get ideas from conversations like this and the conversations I have with companies. And then I go and make content on it because I'm trying to help, one, creators, and two, brands build out their TikTok and just turn their own content into a business. And so I try to make content that helps them with that.
So I recently discovered JT myself and have been obsessed with his content. It's entertaining and informative. We will put every one of the panelists' handles in the chat. So if you want to follow them after this event, you can, and you can enjoy their content. And so JT, we had a few questions come in from people ahead of time because a few people couldn't make it from our community, but wanted to know a few things. I think one of the questions that came in for you was what content businesses should do. There seems to be, of course, a feeling that as an individual, creating content is easier than a company. And as someone that's helping companies leverage platforms like TikTok, what's the strategy you generally go about to try and help companies get a TikTok presence?
Yeah, it's a good question. I really think that like the behind the scenes process is something that is so underutilized. I think TikTok as a platform has just shown people that authenticity and like the relatability of building something, whether that's your own internal process of whatever you're going through, or the process of building a company, people like to see that. And so I think I really try to urge all of the companies that I work with to just like show where you started and where you're at right now, and wherever you're going, document that, along with obviously creating different types of series that could be informative, but just like the reality of where you're at is what people like to see. Because when I go and find a product and I'm in a store and I buy something, if I go on social media, on any platform, and I see the person that started that talking about, hey, I started this in my garage and it was because of this and it impacted me because of this way, and like now I see this product that I can buy, I immediately have a more of an affiliation to buy that and want to purchase it. And so I think the behind the scenes process of it, the messiness, the like ups and downs, all of that is something that I really think is important to show.
And is there a formula for that? I mean, I guess showing behind the scenes is pretty natural, but do you feel this is actually a good format to follow?
Yeah, to be a little bit more like granular with it, I think I think everybody needs to do a series. I think a series is when we were in the example that I try to use, because it's the one that really made me have the aha moment for a series, was when we were doing Honey House. We were just trying everything. We were like, let's do trends, let's do dances, let's do anything that like a TikTok house would do. And it wasn't until we started a series called the Honey Cup Challenge. It was basically like an Olympics with household objects. It wasn't until we started that we immediately started to build. And so we were like, oh, wait a minute, people are following us because we're doing this type of a series. And so now one of the first things that I try to, and then I also, from doing my own pages, proved that out as well, that it was like, once I started doing series, it was like, that was what really built traction. So I think you need to do a series. And I think in terms of like that behind the scenes series, how I built this, how I started from zero, and now I'm at whatever, if that's followers, if that's numbers, whatever it is, I think you want to just look at that storyline of like, where was I when I started and where am I now? And can I tell that in a single video with maybe green screen behind me with, some photos from the past or videos from the past? And then can I look at some more of those individual moments, like how we launched X, Y, and Z product, or how I got this brand deal or got this to happen, and then tell those in different story formats. I think the green screen is a great way to do it. I think just talking to the camera, if you have your product, talking to the camera and being like, here's how I started this. People just like the storytelling format of it.
There's loads of questions coming in the comments, which we will ask at the end, everybody, and you can come up on stage and ask them directly even. But JT, I just wondered as well, you've grown your personal brand as well as the company brand. Of course, it can be interlinked, but do you think, the personal brand is a different strategy, or can it be the same thing? And how have you personally grown your TikTok? I mean, last time I looked, 200,000+ in a very short period of time. How have you done that?
Yeah, I think you need to think about who you're making your content for. I think that's businesses, and I think that that's also individuals. And so for me, when I was starting this new account, and really this account that you're seeing is my third account, and it was just to be a proof of concept for all the companies that I was going to do strategy for. I was like, I'll start an account and just show you what I'm doing, and the stuff that works there, we can implement with you guys. The stuff that doesn't, I'll be the guinea pig. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And the first thing that I tried to think about is like, all right, who am I making this content for? Like, who is the person that's on the other end of this screen that is a single person? Because that was something that really helped me. I had never talked in front of the camera before I started this last account, ever. I had made stories and like talked on Instagram and stuff like that, but I'd never sat down and made like a video that I was going to speak in front of. And so I was like, something that really helped me was I saw a video that said, speak, rather than speaking to everybody, just speak to one person. And so I had to sit and think about like, all right, who is that person that I'm speaking to? And when I started to do that and really like make my videos as if I was really just like making a video for a friend that I was going to send it to a homie or one of my buddies, it started to resonate more because I was starting to speak more naturally into the camera and starting to speak more like I would. And so people would resonate with it more. And so that was something that really, really like changed the course of my content. I do think that the series thing applies to everybody, personal, businesses, whatever kind of company it is. I think that the series thing is really important because if you're just a trends page, you're not going to be bringing value to people because they see that all the time on their For You page. So nobody goes and sees a trend on their For You page and goes to the page and sees all of these other trends and goes, I want to follow. They want it. The trend might be good to get you into that algorithm and get you in a moment in the For You page. But really what people are following is that original content that is on your page that people actually get to know you for. It's like, oh, this is this person that does these kinds of videos. And if it's just this person that just does trends, nobody's going to end up following you long term. So I think a series is important for everybody. And I think that's just the way that I would look at it.
Just before we move on to Max Klymenko, just to give you a warning, I'm going to come to you next. But JT, is there anything, if you went back to the beginning of your journey and learn and tell that person something, what did you learn along this journey that you think the audience should absolutely be aware of?
All of content creation is literally just a battle with yourself. If you're able to work out the internal kind of like, whether that's insecurities or just like, oh, I don't know if it's going to work. If you're willing to be like, I'm just going to put out an immense amount of content, test things every day, try new things, look at what other people are doing and try to emulate similar styles to them with my own material, you'll figure it out. TikTok as a platform, specifically, I speak a lot on TikTok as a platform, your content doesn't need to be overproduced. It can be, it doesn't need to be. You don't need to have any sort of, you don't need to be a professional at something for your content to take off. It really is just the thing that people relate to the most is something that pulls on them emotionally, whether that's being able to be relatable or them feeling really entertained. And so if you're willing to just put stuff out and just test different things, eventually you'll get there. And so if there's one thing that I would say to myself, it would be like, just try everything, try a bunch of different shit, see what works, and then go really hard into the stuff that works.
Sounds like good life lesson advice there, JT, but awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate your knowledge share. And we've got lots of questions for you, so please stick around. Max Klymenko, good to see you. For the audience listening, I think Max was my first TikTok crush from a content perspective. Is just incredible, produces very entertaining, very knowledge-based content, and it's just a nice guy, and recently came to visit me on Entrepreneur House, took time out to come and visit my new project. But Max, thank you for being here. Thanks for giving your time, and tell everybody how you've managed to get millions of followers. Just give us just tell us the simple secret to it all so we can go away and do it ourselves.
Wow, what a question. Hi everyone. Hi Simon. You are just my crush without even the TikTok part. I don't have to undervalue the word crush. Yeah, like for me, I really agree with JT on the series part. That has been the unlock for me. Some time ago, I think when I had like 200,000, I started 200,000 subscribers. I started making the Persuasion Tricks series, and that has like taken off. Since then, I've kind of changed up my content. I think it's like, okay, so there are two things that are important in the video: shareability and watch time. That's kind of tactically. You have to have either one of the two or both, ideally. But on a grand scheme of things, you will have to find a way to stay consistent at creating content. What that means. You have to be interested in what you're talking about and what you're saying and what you're doing. There has to be some kind of unique thing that gives you a perspective that is different from others. And you have to be able to put out a video every day for 4 years. And kind of that's what I've done. Sometimes it's 10 videos a day, sometimes it's 0, but on average, it's 1 video a day. And the only way to do it for a long time without kind of losing energy and without kind of killing yourself in the process is to either feel that your content is impactful, so you do it for the outcome in that person's life, or yourself enjoy making it without caring how it's going to affect people. But if you have both, that's kind of even better. But I wouldn't kind of chase a million followers or even 100,000 for that matter. I would just try to build a community, then make it larger and larger. In my experience, there are some follower bases that are, let's say, 100,000 people, but they are much more powerful and much more, I think, enjoyable to lead as a creator than some of the kind of fandoms that have tens of millions. Because, you know, there's different types of content. Some content kind of hits deep and lets you connect with the audience and actually move them or change them or kind of bring them along on a journey and Others are just views and just follows. And, you know, when it's time to, I don't know, to talk about something important, they will not listen to you.
Are there any particular tools that you use to help you make your TikTok? I know you have a crew that help you sometimes create content, but is there any tips and tricks there that you've picked up along the way?
One thing that is kind of my, I wouldn't say secret. I know it's a very, I use that word a lot. Secret is definitely a word that trends well with the algo, but I mean, I guess it's a secret. What I like to do is when I have a video idea, I like to go one step further than another creator would go to shoot this idea. So let's say I was doing a video about the business of cinemas and how, you know, cinemas make most of their profit from food, not from tickets, things around kind of when to book your tickets and why. And none of the cinemas in the UK agreed for me to come in and film. Shout out to the UK cinemas if you're watching. The UK chains, but there was one, so I know an owner of a bunch of cinemas in Ukraine, and he was like, oh, I have 9 cinemas, like if you want, come in. So I flew to Ukraine to kind of shoot, which is, I guess, an overkill for a 1-minute video, some would say, but I really enjoyed it, and I think that that's one of my kind of favorite videos that I've done. So if you can, in any way you can, just go one extra mile. And I think if you do it consistently, then your views will go up if that's what you're after.
Now, I know you work with a lot of brands, and I've been enjoying your LinkedIn and so on posts. I mean, actually, you do a really good job of bringing brands into the conversation without it feeling very salesy, which I think is a real skill. But do you think businesses or people with businesses listening should advertise on TikTok? How do you see businesses engaging with influencers and generally on the platform?
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on your I mean, we work with a bunch of businesses that enter TikTok. The latest one has been LinkedIn, that are doing a great job. You can check it out. I think that, okay, so let's say there is a brand like Ryanair, right? Everyone always talks about it. Great page, very creative. Great. There is a brand like Duolingo, right? That owns every comment section. There is a really good brand admin there who engages in every kind of meme, funny video, drops the Duolingo perspective. That's kind of super cool. I think as far as ads go, they can work. I think if you have tons of money as a brand or as an organization, that is definitely something that you can do. And one thing that is still possible on TikTok is if you have a budget that is relatively big, let's say 6 figures, then you can get TikTok, the company's assistance to run your ad campaign, especially if you're a brand with some recognition. That's the opportunity that is kind of pretty much gone on other social media platforms. I think that requires like a 7-figure budget. So there is that. I would say that if you are an SME, I wouldn't rush to TikTok advertising. I would start with investing most of your money into organic content, build out some kind of a production team, do some animation, do bits and pieces. Then once your account is kind of up and running, I would start experimenting with ads. I think too many business people and brands make a mistake of like just having some marketing budget and running TikTok ads without actually understanding the platform, having any presence there. That's for the most of it a waste of money, unless the creative is really good. But if that's what you do with the budget, then probably the creative is not good either.
Great advice. And final question before we move to Katie. I wondered, how do you come up with your content strategy? How do you, I mean, 4 years of posting every day, you know, that's a lot of ideas. How do you work on your content strategy?
I don't really have like a proper strategy. I just try to, something I learned from Seth Godin, most of the like creator aspects I have learned from Seth Godin. So I'm just kind of recycling what he said. But I just kind of show my work, like even if it's not good, I just film. I know that my video guy is coming. I know that the researcher is coming. So it's like, I can't not show up. So even if I have nothing, I just show up. And if I have nothing, then I tell my video guy, look, I have 0. There is nothing that I have come up with. So now I will just try in the next half an hour. And most of the time something comes out. And I post everything. even the videos that I look at them and I'm like, oh my God, this is bad, I still post because who knows?
And I've actually had that experience with you. We did a few collabs, and your content is always so slick. I expected the whole creative process to be, here's exactly what we're doing, but it was very organic and actually a lot more fun that way because it wasn't scripted, very natural, and it's actually a nice way to do things actually. Just a side point, something I've been doing recently is I've been going live on TikTok, and I've been asking the people in my community what content they want, what they need to know. And so that's been a strategy that's been working for me lately. And my community's given me ideas that I didn't even think of. And that has worked for me. So Max, we've got loads of questions coming up for you in the comments as well. So we'll basically at the end, we're going to have a Q&A. People are going to come on stage and ask questions. So please don't go anywhere. And we'll be right back. Katie, thanks for your patience. Would you like to just share a little bit about how you started your journey on TikTok? What was the first thing you did when you started promoting your business on TikTok?
Well, everyone tells you to jump on these trends, don't they? So that's kind of initially where I went to, but I realized that actually showing up as myself, and like Max just said, posting the stuff that you think is probably rubbish and it's not going to get many views or whatever, just post it. Because I think ultimately it's all about creating this sense of community, and to build that sense of community, people need to see you and accept that everyone's human and you've got a sense of humor. Things are not always going to be perfect, but that's what makes us human, right? It makes us more relatable. So that's really what I started doing. I started showing how excited I was every time I got an order, the backstage process, me making my fidget boards, talking about the different types of people that were ordering the fidget boards as well, to give people a lot more insight and into that. But then eventually I realized that, like JT said, is that you've got to start focusing in on that one person. You've got to find that, build your perfect character. Who is that person that you want to sell to? Create them, and that's the person that you want to keep creating content for in your mind, really. But most of all, I just had fun with it. I just enjoyed trying out loads of different types of things. Yes, there's always that insecurity of putting it out there and, oh God, people are going to think that I'm stupid for doing this, or, there's always going to be that, but just post, because actually for showing up and showing that you're having fun doing it as well, and that you're enjoying it, and ultimately delivering your message, or delivering the educational content, or actually just showing your products and how you build them is what people want to see, and they do enjoy it. And that's just how it rolled and rolled. And in 8 months, I had over 100,000 followers, and I was blown away by that.
And you are a mother of twins, 2-year-old twins.
Yes.
And so I think a lot of people listening will resonate, having kids and having a busy life. How do you find time to do it all? How do you schedule your TikTok life? So
my girls go to nursery 2 days a week. And on those days, I bulk I bulk record stuff. So as I'm scrolling through TikTok throughout the week, just enjoying the app, if I see something that I immediately think, oh, I can put my own twist on that, I press and hold. It'll come up with the little options that you can like, share, but it'll say add to favorites. And I've got literally thousands of videos saved in my favorites. And as soon as I get my content batching day, I set up my ring light, get a few changes of clothes put to the side so I can switch my clothes about, so it doesn't look like I'm just filming in the same stuff all the time. And I just literally go through my favorites, see the video, film my version of it, put it in drafts, because I'm going to edit it later and I'll do all the words and everything. I just literally get my face on the camera, do all the bits I need to do, move on to the next one and the next one and the next one. And usually on a batch creating day, I will try to get at least 20 videos. And then I do that over 2 days. So then I schedule them and filter them out over the next week or so. Now, the annoying thing about TikTok, this is the only one thing that I'll say that gets me, is that when you go on your desktop, you can schedule all of your TikToks, excuse me, you can only schedule them up to 10 days in advance. So with Instagram or Facebook, you can schedule them until next year, which is lovely for when you're gearing up for big occasions like Christmas, etc. I created all of my Christmas content in September, scheduled it, left it for Instagram and Facebook. But with TikTok, it's 10 days. And also now that TikTok's now brought out TikTok Shop, which is a massively helpful platform to help get your products more accessible to your viewers, you also at the moment can't link it on your desktop. So that is the one downside. You can when you do it from your app, but it means that you need to have everything saved in your drafts, all ready to go. And then you've maybe got your captions written out in your notes section of your phone. So you can just put the two together and post and actually physically go on the app 2-3 times a day and post it like that. So I mix and match. I generally schedule a couple every day, and then I will pop in a couple of kind of ad libs a couple of times a day generally.
It's great to know. Again, just a reminder, everybody, the panelists, you can follow them. Their links are in the comments. So if you want to follow anybody, you can, and I suggest you do. Katie, I guess also just going granular for a second, are you using any particular hashtag strategies that might be useful to people listening?
Hashtags, it took me a while to get my head around hashtags. Everyone will tell you to niche down, and that's kind of a vague expression, I think. I think ultimately the way people need to look at hashtags is that it's your searchability. So people are now using TikTok as opposed to YouTube for the how-to videos. So really what you want to do is when you're posting about your product, you want to put so many descriptive hashtags in so that if someone is looking for red trainers or gold star jewelry, you know, something like that, you've got to think about the words that you're using. How are people going to use those words to find you? Your video wants to be at the top of that search when they put it into the search hashtag bar. So that's how I generally tend to look at it. Annoyingly, when you see all these big viral videos, you'll see that a lot of them have the hashtag FYP, which lots of people will tell you not to use because it is so oversaturated. I personally don't use that one. I just think if you just need to use your hashtags to help people search for you, because people are now starting to use TikTok as they would do with as YouTube.
That's a very good point. I've had a few people contact me recently searching as entrepreneur. And so, which is interesting, it starts to be a Google search engine, which, you know, no one would presently describe TikTok as, but I think that's actually starting to happen. And that's a really interesting phenomenon. So yeah, that's really interesting. And just before we move to Max McCann, who just looking at him, he's a chef for everybody listening. Max, an incredible chef, and just looking at him makes me hungry for some reason. So I haven't had my dinner yet. So we'll get to Max in a moment. Just before we do, I wanted to know. I mean, I met you, Katie, on a live. I was live, and we connected. And you go live a lot. And do you think that's part of your success? And do you recommend people do that?
Absolutely. And I think not necessarily to try and sell. It's again coming back to building that community. And I think what is so important to do when you're on lives is to acknowledge everyone that comes on your lives. As soon as you see that TikTok handle come up, say the name, acknowledge them, say hi, thanks for joining, and try and remember those people. If those people are coming back onto your lives, they're giving you your time. And everyone wants to feel remembered and acknowledged. And I think those are two key things that you need to do when you're going live. It's always a very embarrassing thing putting a camera on you, and I've got it on me at the moment. But ultimately, I think the best way of doing that is just to set it up, go live, and then busy yourself, you know, packaging your orders, doing whatever it is that you're doing that is around your niche, and then just have a little glimpse up, say hi to some people, acknowledge them, and then you'll start to make conversation, and then that's how you build the community. And then all of a sudden you're looking forward to it because these people are part of your family now. They're part of your community. So I'm really happy and lucky to say that with my little business, we've got such a lovely community. We've got so many little jokes that we all tell each other. We have fun, and that's just one huge part of going live. It's so enjoyable.
Katie, thank you for that. And yeah, I enjoy being on your lives too. It's always fun. So thanks for sharing that knowledge. Max McCann, good to see you. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thank you, Simon. How are you?
Yes, good. So the other Max is here, and I've already said that, you know, I think it's just amazing. So I don't know if I can say the same about you, but I do feel that way. You're always inspiring, eating well, eating healthily, and maybe tell everybody a little bit about what you've learned building your TikTok channel.
So I would say it depends what sort of route you want to go or the route you want me to discuss with it, but just as like a rough overview of what sort of maybe worked for me from the start, I would say that first of all, it's going to be slightly different for everyone. So there's not necessarily one set way or one right way to do things. But for me, one of the biggest things would definitely be providing value in some way, shape or form, whether it's providing useful tips to help educate your audience, or if you're going to create funny videos to maybe entertain your audience. Now, one of the key methods that I've done to, I guess sort of decide what sort of content I want to do going forwards would be to search relevant hashtags within the niche. If you're, I don't know, if you're a marketer, I would search marketing hashtags. And I spend a little bit of time there just trying to understand what sort of content people like, what content works well or doesn't work well. Take some notes and then just analyze that and try and use that content to give you a rough sort of starting point, where you can sort of change it into your own sort of content and put your own spin on things. So I think if you've decided what sort of content you're going to create, whether it's educational or whether it's entertaining, and then you've decided, or then you found out what sort of content works well within your niche, I think that gives you a good starting point of how to proceed going forwards with your videos. And then after that, I would say the main thing is testing. Like for me, I must have created 20 different types of cooking and food videos before I decided on my sort of style of videos that I wanted to do. I'd put out 5 to 6 different videos a day, see what worked well, find what did work well, and then double down and really focus on that.
Now, I know you had a sellout cookbook when you first on. How did you translate your, I guess, your TikTok content into sales? Was there any particular strategy that might be useful? Yeah, I think one thing that some people maybe shy away from is giving away stuff for free. It still sort of like blows my mind now. Like at one point, like I said, I was putting out maybe 6 different recipe videos a day for free across TikTok and other platforms as well, but mainly TikTok at the start. So people are getting 3, 4, 5, 6 free video recipes every single day, yet thousands of people were still coming to buy my cookbooks. So I think by giving people free content and being able to get your personality across and building a community, people are going to want to support you going forwards. So although there's literally thousands of free recipes on my TikTok, thousands of people have still come to my website and ordered my cookbooks. So yeah, I would say to not be scared to give away content or tips or anything really for free. I think it's really important to build a community. Well said, and I couldn't agree more. I think, well, we're doing a collaboration on Monday, which I'm really excited about. But talk about collaborating with other influencers, because I know that's something you've done, and share a little bit about your experience with that with people listening. I'd say it depends maybe where you're at in the stage of like your business. So I'll maybe give a few different options. If it was me and I had a large business and a large budget, then I would search relevant hashtags within my niche, find large influencers within that niche. More often than not, they're going to have like a manager or an agency that manages all of this side of things for them. So you might be able to find like an email to their manager in their bio, or a link to email them directly from their TikTok page. That would then all be sorted on their behalf by their manager or their agency, like it is with me. But for those sort of large influencers, the fees are going to be really, really high and probably not manageable or affordable for a small or a new business. So there's a couple of different ways that you could maybe approach influencers if you don't have much budget available, or if you're a startup and you're not really sure how you could afford to reach an audience with a small budget, but still be able to generate enough sales to be able to push forwards and maybe in the future be able to afford the larger influencers. So without rambling on too much, one way would be by sending out your products for free to slightly smaller influencers that may be happy to review your products or share your products on their page to get some initial traction or sales or interest, or even to help you grow your own following. And one way that I haven't seen many businesses or brands do, and I know a lot of new founders may not necessarily be comfortable with it, but it's essentially giving away equity for influence. So, and this could work with a large follower or a large influencer. If you don't have
thousands of pounds to pay them per post, you may be able to negotiate a deal where you can offer them a small amount of equity in your business in exchange for them promoting it with a view of a long-term partnership. And yeah, that's pretty much my tips or suggestions on that one.
Yeah, it's very interesting that point. I mean, I'm an investor in businesses, so I always tell people like equity is the most valuable thing you've got. So make sure you're selling it in an angel investment kind of scenario to the right investors, whether that's me or not, or someone else. Make sure it's such a valuable thing. But equally, what it can do is create loyalty and alignment of goals. So it can be powerful. Just be very, very careful with giving away equity in your company. You can have a lot of people potentially thinking that they can boss you around as equity owners. So, but yeah, it's an interesting idea. And thanks for sharing that personal view, Max. It's awesome. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to open up the floor to questions. And Talia, who's helping me moderate, I think we'll bring some people up. If you want to ask some questions, please put up your hand now, and we will bring you up on stage to ask these experts. And while we're doing that, I just want to recap. Now, this will replay on YouTube later and other channels. So I just want to recap what I've taken from all the panelists, and which I think could be probably a good blog, but I'll quickly list it before we take the questions from the audience. And so JT, these are the things I really think that, are so right that he said. Behind the scenes is underutilized. I couldn't agree more. Everyone's trying to create content instead of just document. I mean, I suddenly sound like Gary Vee. I think he said that. But the point is, that is true. I really like the behind the scenes piece. Do a series, I think, is a good addition, and niching into that concept. Like, try to create a regular thing that people can follow and feel connected to what's happening in the journey. Who are you making content for? Really, we all know it. It's so obvious when you hear it from JT, but it's something just not to forget. We sometimes can get wrapped. I'm like this. I sometimes make content for me, and I'm forgetting who I'm actually trying to make content for. And speak to that one person, he said, which I think is just so good to keep. I put that on your wall. If you're thinking of getting seriously into TikTok, I'd probably put that on your wall in front of you. Remember, who is that person? Draw them. What's their story? How are you going to bring value to them? And finally, with JT's comments, the great thing you also said, I feel like that battling with yourself is so true. Any creator will tell you this. And if you're going to be serious about creating content on TikTok, you've got to kind of just accept that nothing will be perfect, and kind of just don't fight yourself so often and make it painful. Just go for it. Really, I think is the way I translated what JT said. And then Max McCann was saying, I always get his name wrong, Klymenko. He probably gives me a little frown there. But Max was saying, and I completely agree with him as well, it is about shareability and watch time. Sometimes remembering the practicalities of all these social media platforms, we forget that, if people share it, and I've seen it, I've had a few videos hit, 400 or 500 million views, and I notice it's always the ones that have been shared that hit that number. And if they're not shared, they're not going to be popular. So, and of course the watch time is obvious, isn't it? If people don't watch it more than 3 seconds and they scroll, then TikTok's going to decide that no one cares about that. So, but it's just reminding ourselves of that as we produce content. I think it's so important. And so be consistent. And Max has put out video every single day for 4 years. Can you imagine? He looks so young, doesn't he? How did he do that? But every single day doing that, it's got to, you got to do what you love. You've got to make sure you're producing type of content that's going to be enjoyable for you to be persistent, which I think persistent leads to luck. More persistence equals more luck. So but you've got to make sure you're doing something you love every day, and go the extra mile is another thing I took from Max. Just push ourselves a little bit and actually make the content as good as it can be. If it means contacting the cinema owner to get approval to then be able to film in comfort and be able to create without hindrance, then do it. Make that effort. And it might have taken a while for Max to get hold of the right cinema owner, but when he did, the content is better because he's got a collaboration instead of just bursting into a cinema and trying to make it happen. So engage in the comments was another little tidbit I think Max threw in there, which is so crucial. We do forget. And you can not just in your comments, because this is something I personally do a lot. I mean, one of my videos recently got 20,000 comments. I personally replied to them all. Didn't speak to my family for 3 days, but I did it. And but I think the thing that I don't do that Max mentioned, which I think is really interesting too, is go into other people's environments and comment. So if you're a brand and you can engage in other people's ecosystems and bring your humor to the table, bring your opinion to the table, I think that that's a really good tip. Just show up, Max said, which, again, just really resonates with me. Katie, I really love her story. I really wish you guys would all follow all the panelists, by the way. Again, we'll put the links in the comments. But when you watch Katie's stuff, what she's talking about, where she's creating a sense of community, she really does that. I feel like I'm part of her business. I mean, I haven't invested. She hasn't asked me to invest, but I do feel like I'm part of the business. I do a lot of calls with Katie recently, mentoring her, because I feel like I'm part of her journey. Having seen her on lives and her sharing what she's doing and sharing her life, it can create such a sense of relationship. And so, share your story, every element of it, if you can. And so, just be authentic is a word I love, and kind of describes how I feel Katie operates. Bulk record is one strategy. I have tried doing it daily and bulk recording. I mean, both have their strengths and weaknesses, but if you've limited on time, this can be a great way to go. And the app does allow you to save the videos, and is pretty good, allowing you to do that. By the way, small technical tip, I changed my phone recently, and it turns out that the clips saved on TikTok are saved on your phone, not on TikTok. Because I went and loaded up my new TikTok on my new phone, and none of the original clips were there. So just a little tip, if you do change your phone and you've got 1,000 TikToks saved in your phone, watch out on that a little bit. Go live is something Katie reminded us. And, even if you are working and you don't have time to talk to the camera, at least people can connect to you. And so, I think it's important to do that. And don't forget, TikTok is turning into a search engine of sorts. So try to, and this has been a common theme, connect to your particular audience, know what hashtags you need to research to connect to your particular audience. And then last but not least, we just heard from Max, but he said something I also think we need to put on the wall and remind ourselves, which is provide value. Like we often forget to, right? So, wherever we can. And I like that Max even said, like humor, that is value. If you're just joking while you're, Max does this really well. When he's making his food, he might make a joke, and we all feel happier. Like there's some value there, even if the food's rubbish, which it never is. But, that value is important. Niche hashtags, is an interesting one, especially, I guess, if you're doing a particular thing like cooking, you can really, I guess, own or be a part of the community that is cooking on TikTok. And, test a lot is something else Max said. Don't forget to try things and different formulas and different ways of doing things, and give away stuff for free. I couldn't resonate with this more. That's what we do at the Purposeful Project all the time. That's what our partner today, Thai Banking, are doing. If you give people things, there's all sorts of magic that comes back to you. It is a cheesy and maybe obvious, but if you can give your audience things without expectations, so you don't get annoyed, you don't get something back instantly, it can be incredibly powerful. And finally, I'll say before we go to your questions, I think collaboration via common purpose is really powerful. So if you're seeing influencers that are going through the same struggle as you, or going through the same journey as you, or have a similar mission to you, they will collaborate with you. That's what I found. And so everybody on the panel today wants to help people start and grow businesses. That's why they're here. So I'm living proof in this webinar that's definitely the way to think about things. So let's move to questions. And I think I always get the order wrong and probably upset someone, but I'm going to go with Beth first. Beth, would you like to unmic and ask your question of the panel?
Absolutely. Can you hear me?
We can, Beth. Go ahead. What's your question?
Thank you. Hello. So my question is, as an individual, not a company yet, certainly aspiring to be, is TikTok really still accessible for that kind of massive growth when you're starting from ground zero? Like, has that bubble burst yet?
Who would like to answer that question? I have an opinion, of course, but I'd like if anyone in the panel wants to throw their view.
Yes,
Go ahead, Max.
still accessible. Just start, and more accessible today than it will be in a month, more accessible in a month than it will be in a year. But I think hyper growth still happens. Also possible on YouTube Shorts, also possible on Instagram Reels, also possible on conventional long form YouTube videos. But I think if I were you, I was starting from zero, I would post TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels aggressively starting tomorrow.
Or even tonight. Come on, Max.
Okay, I gave Beth some time to like shower and think of content ideas and stuff.
JT, did you have anything to add? I noticed you on mic. Sorry, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you summed it up pretty good. I agree. I think, and I like how Max just pointed out that like, as more and more people get on every platform, it becomes harder. So don't wait, go do it now. But yes, you can absolutely still grow immensely by starting today.
And if you go put a TikTok out and then tweet me at Simon Squibb, I will go retweet your TikTok and use the other platforms to help you also grow on TikTok, which isn't something we mentioned in the webinar today, but that can actually be quite useful. But if you do that, I'll as long as it's nothing inappropriate, I will share it.
Unbelievable. Thanks.
You bet. Okay, Beth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Timo, welcome. What question do you have for the panel?
Hello guys, what's up? I have a quick question. I'm originally from finance and marketing. I just finished my major and I have never filmed, posted, edited a video until 1st of January when I started a challenge called Project 50. It's like a 75 hardest challenge and it went great. I'm enjoying it so much. And I founded an online marketing agency last year with a friend of mine, my roommate. And we just signed our first customer to our new agency, the 916 Vertical, where we are specifically putting out content in shorts, reels, and TikTok formats for companies that are oldish, have no idea how TikTok works, have no idea how short video content works because it's so specific, so different to everything we used to see. Everything like YouTube videos used to be super long and entertaining, and then we moved to live streaming, and now everything is super short and you can react to the video just you post it in the morning and everything is getting shorter and shorter. And the companies just don't have the capacities to do that. So that's where we're at right now with our company and our agency. And I have two things to ask. The first thing is, do you guys have any hacks or like a specific tip on how to reach out to new brands that are old and don't understand, like what are the 3 key points if you would pitch TikTok or short video content to a company that you guys would try to convince them with? Yeah, and greetings from Germany and thank you very much.
Hello from Germany. I don't know why I want to always crack a joke like send them a fax. If they're an old company, they're probably still using faxes. If they're in Japan, apparently they are still using a fax.
I'm really interested in the answers because we figured out one specific way that worked really, really well so far. But yeah, I'm happy if you guys can give me any input on that one.
Yeah. All right. Again, JT, do you want to jump in?
Yeah. First, I want to actually hear about what was the project that you said, like Project 50. Is this like a content version of 75 Hard?
Yeah, so it's actually crazy. I think it's a big bubble of people. The people who are in it, they are growing immensely fast and they're enjoying themselves so much because it's a community of, I don't know, like a lot of people. It's founded by Nico Rauchenwald and he has his own fashion brand. And it's basically working like you have this holistic creator who creates a hashtag and a challenge called Project 50 and has like 8 rules. I can like DM you later if you want to. It's super easy, but a lot of fun. And it basically pushes you to be better, but not in like over the top hard way. And it also-
But it's all content. It's all based on content though.
It's based on content. It's like one of the 8 key facts you have to do. It's like wake up before 8 a.m. every day for 50 days. But also one point is journal, track your progress every day. with a photo, with a picture, and through this whole platform of short video content, TikTok, Shorts, Reels, etc. There's like this immense growth into the community because they're all doing these short video contents and they're all putting out Reels every single day. And it's like thousands of people doing it.
It's cool. The idea of doing a 75 hard just around content where you have to post a certain amount every day would be cool for a lot of people. It'd be a reason for them to like not have an excuse to start posting. So
it's exactly what I did with Project 50. It's the, okay, I'm doing this so I can post my content without feeling guilty. But now I'm at the point where I don't really care anymore. And I'm not like ashamed of like taking videos or filming myself. And also it actually pushed me like in a crazy way to put out the content, because if you're like having a day and you just like pass on 2, 3, 4 hours, not realizing what you're doing, and when you film yourself, you're like, man, this is everything I did today. I should go work out. I should read my book. I should drink more water. I should cook. I should do something better. And like not in a super stressed way or to put too much pressure on yourself. But if you're enjoying it, for me right now, it's working out really good.
Awesome. Yeah, so to get to the question, sorry about going on a tangent there because that was just really interesting to me. For the massive companies, I think not trying to convince the unconvincible would be the first thing that I say. So like if you're trying to reach out to big companies that have no interest in doing something like TikTok and you're trying to convince them that they need to get into TikTok, for me, I would say that that might be a waste of time if they have no interest in it. If there is interest in it, or if the question is just to how you would get in touch with them, I would say you can look for people. There's a couple of different ways that I try to find brands. One, for every brand that is somewhat in touch with social media or cultural relevancy, they have somebody that's looking through their Instagram DMs. They at least have a person on their team that maybe they don't reply to everything, but they're at least looking through them. So that's where I try to push everybody if they're trying to get in touch with brands. For a lot of people that are listening that are creators, that's the way that I push everybody to try and get in touch with brands to do brand deals, is to try and just DM them on Instagram. Because if they're paying for influencers and paying for influencer marketing, they're checking their Instagram DMs. So that'd be the first thing. Second thing would be go on LinkedIn and look up the company. And if they're not too big, you can actually look at the people that are either community managing, or social media director, or whatever the kind of different labels are of their job at the company. That being said, if you're trying to go to somebody like Microsoft, it's going to be hard to get to the person that's, making that decision anyway without having kind of an in there. So in a not perfect way to answer it, I would say don't even try to convince people that aren't looking to be convinced. And then there is a couple of those little hacks that you could try and find the people on their team through LinkedIn.
Thank you very much. Great answer.
I'll give you a quick a hack, another way you could do it. Because I think I used to own an agency in Hong Kong called Fluid, which I sold recently to PwC. So I was in the agency business for a long time. And one of the things I always found with brands is that kind of FOMO. So, basically you create things that they want to be a part of. And so one of the things we did recently was something called Be Your Own Boss on TikTok. And it got nearly 450 million views. And basically we did a partnership with TikTok and we launched it. And then I just let all these brands know that we were doing it, and then these brands would contact us. And I'd basically say to them, we're launching it with or without them. And they didn't want to miss out, that they signed the documents within a week. I got Sage, which is a big billion-dollar company. These people sign really quickly. And so I think that that's another way to go. And you've got that skill because you've got this amazing Project 50, which has had 50 million views plus yourself, right? So you kind of, you know how to create something, but maybe just bring in the commercial element and make them part of it. Sometimes that's easier than having a client. And what I found was once we got them on board, so for example, one of the brands that got on board was called Go Cardless. Then they, the first time they were ever on TikTok, but after that, they kept asking us, we're not an agency. I don't have an agency anymore, but they kept asking us for help. And because they supported our campaign, I helped them. But as an agency, that can be an interesting way to go. You create things they want to be a part of. You build a relationship because they're part of that project, and that can lead to more stuff.
And that's really, really interesting. Also something we discovered. What I wanted to share for everyone, because that's the one thing we learned so far, and I love sharing learnings. and like if something works, I think it's valuable for everyone, and I love to share that, is that I worked as a content creator as well for a fashion brand, and I hate reading DMs. I hated it. There's so many auto-generated, they're boring, and they're not appealing in 9% of the time. So what we did is we send out video messages, which take 10 to 15 more minutes, and it's outrageous how many of them answered. They're like, shoot me they give you the email, they send me this video, answer me there. And this is, for example, how we got our first customers. And then we also did like this LinkedIn hack, which is kind of like the modern business Tinder.
We should probably have you on one of these webinars yourself one day. You've got a lot of knowledge, Timo. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to it. Shoot me a DM. Lucky to help, definitely.
Yeah. I'll make sure it's not boring. I don't know. I'll put.
Let's send the video. Yeah, maybe it's better.
But thanks. I mean, I don't know if anyone. It's a good question. I think a lot of people listening will probably want to learn some of these things. Does anyone want to add anything before we move to the next question? Okay, cool. Yeah, I've actually got a load of stories. I mean, I helped CNN launch in Asia, and one of the companies that we work with in China, they took the CNN content and just started translating it themselves into China. And then CNN had an option to either sue them for doing that or work with them. And they chose to work with them. So sometimes that can be an interesting way to go. If you've got a client you really want to work with, you just go out there and create stuff. I mean, not saying you be careful with trademark stuff, but you can start a TikTok for them and show them by then, bring it to them and say, look, we've created something for you. That is another hack, whether you want to go for all that effort, but that is something I've seen work in other markets. So Mavinta, am I saying that right? Because I'm dyslexic, so I read things funny, but is it Mavinta?
Hi. My name is Movin, by the way.
Movin, with a T on the end, just to trick me.
Yes.
Got it.
I'm so sorry I cannot turn on the video. It's 4 a.m. here in Singapore. I'm so sorry.
Wow. Oh, I love Singapore. Well, thank you for staying up.
No worries.
Movin, do you have a question for the panelists?
Yes. So I run a page. I'm so sorry. Wait, I just want to say. There's a vehicle going past. So I actually run a page called Dessert Crush on TikTok. We currently have about 110,000 fans, and we are reaching 1 million likes also. So my question will be how do we get sponsors and brands to come in without over advertising? Because I think like one of the problems that we see is that if we get in like sponsors and brands, then they will definitely want us to promote them on their pages and all. And we don't want to look too salesy because we'll lose the community. So I think that's my question. Like, how do we find without overselling and losing the community?
Anyone want to jump in with their views on this?
I can give like a little bit of an insight, but as to how like I personally would do it. So I don't know if it would apply to like what you do, because I'm not too sure exactly how it would translate into that, but I've done quite a lot of deals with various different brands over the past year or so. And back to what I was saying earlier, to providing value, although I'm doing adverts on TikToks and promoting other people's products, my audience is still getting value from the videos. So say if it was corn, who I did an advert with not long ago, although I'm advertising their product and they're paying me to do it, my audience is still getting a free recipe from the video, and it doesn't come across in a salesy way. So if there's any way that you can sort of maybe apply that sort of strategy to what you're doing and still be able to apply some sort of value in it rather than talking about a product and just trying to sell it on the video, that might help. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Thank you for that. I think I got a few ideas from that. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Well,
yeah, I think that's my question. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
No problem. Go to bed. Go to bed.
Thank you.
Right. Mr. See you soon. Mr. Architect. I think I know what you do.
Hello? Can you hear me?
We can. Do you have a question for the panelists?
Yeah, I have a bit. Not too much though, no. Just two.
It's not too much.
Yeah. So first of all, I just want to say I follow most of you guys and I appreciate your content. So thank you. And I also wanted to ask a small question. So I have been on TikTok for like 2 years now, and I had an account which is Mr. Architect, where I did like comedy stuff, content, but it wasn't working. So, and the reason it wasn't working wasn't because of the views for me. Like I didn't care that much about the views and the likes. The problem for me was that I would get like have 100 followers, but when I post a new video, I don't see them. In fact, now I have like on the Mr. Architects account 213 followers, but it's like they're all dead. I don't know where they are. They don't comment or like, and I kind of felt stuck. So I thought maybe my content doesn't have enough value. And so I started the question I had was also, I started a new TikTok account, so I wanted to know if that was a smart move, where I decided I would do humor, but also mix it with book reviews and business advice, because I like to do that. And I wanted to know if that is possible, because often I hear people say you need to have a niche, a specific niche. So I didn't know if comedy with business and life advice would go in together, if I could put it together. And what do you guys think of that? I also wanted to know, how could I ensure that I have like a strong community, because I don't want to have all these numbers, but I can't communicate with them and talk with them. I also wanted to say that my videos are doing very well on YouTube Shorts and Instagram, though, compared to TikTok. But I still like the community part is still bad. I also have a fitness account that is doing much better than this one. So, and I think it's because of the community part again. So I wanted to know how to ensure that I have a strong community, and if it's possible, can you have comedy and business advice together, or is that too much? They don't have enough in common, and I should focus on one specific niche?
I think business is often a joke, just to be honest. So I don't think, yeah, I think you can actually mix anything up, no problem at all. Your question is quite specific. I personally think the only way I could help you with that would be if you put the links to everything in the comments, and then we'll go and have a look, and maybe you can DM me later on Instagram, and I'll try and give you some feedback via a voice clip. Because I can't really answer your question right now, because I haven't seen what you're doing to see whether or not it works. If you're a good comedian and you're good at business, it'll probably work. If you're not a good comedian but you're good at business, it probably won't work, right? So I'd have to see the content to give you my personal opinion. But I don't know if anyone else, and we've got some geniuses on the panel here, can give an answer with the information you just provided. Max, you're on mic, so I'm gonna.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, it sounds like you've got, from what I gather there, you've got 3 different accounts that you've been it sounds like you're comparing all of these different accounts so much, but ultimately the problem that you have with all of these accounts is the community. And I think the way around that is go into that follower list, find those people, go to their profile and spend some time giving them some value. If they're not showing up on your videos, go and chase them. Start to build up that relationship with them, because you can create amazing content, but there's something missing there. So what you need to do is, instead of putting all of your energy trying to test all of these different accounts and the different ways of doing your content, go and find those people, start to build the relationship with them. Then that will make them more interested in you. They'll come over to your platform, and then you can start to nurture them, but always make sure that you are engaging with them on their platforms and when they come and comment on yours. I think that's number 1 key. You say that you're not too bothered about the amount of followers you've got. It does sound like you're comparing them a lot. I would just forget that. You need to find the enjoyment in what you're doing. And I think when you've got the enjoyment, then that entices more people to come and want to spend time with you. If you're clearly being funny, which obviously you are, because it sounds like a lot of your stuff is about comedy. When you're enjoying it and not focusing so much on those numbers and getting bogged down, then that will entice people to come over to you. You'll attract them over to yourself quite naturally. And then you'll start to see that following build up quite holistically as well. But I think definitely go and find those followers. I'm not one for niching down massively. I think mix it up. I think that's fine. But ultimately, if you come back to your foundation of what that account is all about, then that's fine.
Well said, Katie. I think that's good advice. Mr. Architect, I hope it's useful, but if you do want to go and drop the links in, we can all go have a look later.
Yeah, I'll do.
You're on mic, by the way. Sorry, I just realized. Did you want to say something? No, maybe not. Yeah. So hopefully it was a little bit useful. I know it sounds like, I mean, again, my personal opinion is I can't deal with more than one account. I know I've seen JT do a really good job on this front, by the way. He's got more than one account. I personally find it really hard. So you've got to look at your own personality type. So even my company account, I have my team run that, and my personal account I run myself, because I can't do two things at once. So there might be something in that. Maybe just focus on doing one and doing one well, unless you're as talented as JT, and then you can do many.
The thing is, my fitness account is working a lot better.
There we go.
And I noticed it's because I think it has more value. Maybe I decided that maybe I am not the comedian guy, but I actually have a character that I've noticed, which is Mr. Architect, that people love a lot. I don't know why, but maybe it's his confidence boost. And so I decided I'm going to use this character, and because I wanted to share initially some advice about life, but I was scared that it was too niched, which is why I asked if that was possible. Like that, now I have a fresh start with another Mr. Architect account, but I can be more myself in it with the character. So you confirmed that, and so thank you.
No problem. Are you based in the UK?
Unfortunately not, and I think that's one of the what makes it harder, because I'm in Switzerland, and they prefer French content, but I kind of want to do it in English, so it's kind of complicated.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there you go. You got to appeal to the market you're trying to communicate in. So maybe that's something to also think about. But that's awesome. I think that's it. Everyone promised an hour, and it's getting late, and only Max has eaten. Max Klymenko has eaten. We all saw that, but no one else has. So I think we all need to go and have some lunch. There was quite a lot of good questions in the comments. So I know we haven't been able to answer them all, but if you go now on Twitter and ask the questions and tag us, I will try to answer them on Twitter. So all of the hashtags to all of the panelists and all of the handles for all the panelists are not only on our website, we'll just pop them back in the comments now as well. So if we didn't answer your question, you can go ask on Twitter. In addition, of course, you probably noted that all of us end up replying to our comments. So if you go into our comments on our content and ask your questions, we will try to answer them as well. So I want to thank you all for listening. We have a podcast coming out on Friday, which I think will bring amazing value to you all. Sarah Willingham, who's a dragon on Dragon's Den here in the UK. She's just built £100 million company in a year. She's going to share how she did that, how she decides what to invest in. And I think it's not to be missed. This week gone, so it's live right now, is a podcast with Anne Bowden, who built a $1.5 billion bank in the UK, a brand new bank called Starling Bank. And she's just written a book on how she built that bank, but her story is mind-blowing. 53 years old, and going and raising 60 odd million pounds in one meeting from a billionaire to start that bank. It's a story that will blow your mind. Again, just tell Siri or Amazon, hey, please play the Pep Talk podcast by the Purposeful Project, and you will be mind blown around the stories of those entrepreneurs and what they could teach you. So I hope you found today's broadcast useful. I thank the panelists so much for giving up your time, and it means so much to me personally, and I think to the audience too. But thank you. I want to thank Tide Banking for supporting our initiatives on these webinars to provide people value for free. And again, in the comments, everybody who you've heard from tonight, you can follow them. And if you want a better life and to understand how cinemas work, you've got to follow everybody. So especially Max, because he knows how cinemas work now. But thank you, everybody, for joining, and we'll see you all very soon.
Thanks, Simon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Simon.
Thanks,
See you
guys.
later, everyone.
See you.